Funny. Hey, son. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Yeah. A few boys lined up here. Yeah, I know you're hungry. Don't stop pecking me. Don't stop pecking me. Oh, fight's on already. Freeway. All right, guys, let me get the food out. So you go first, huh? Is that the rule? You go first? Oh, dude, you just pulled out all the feathers. Oh, wrapped her up early this morning. Good morning, baby. All right. Let me do my usual thing and put out a few pellets just to keep everybody going. Calm everybody down a little bit. Oh, let's just take the hunger pangs away from everybody. Calm things down a little bit. Right. Now we can begin. Come on, Nick. You ready? Are you waiting? Are you waiting? I know. Okay, come on then. You getting in or not? No. Come on, buddy. No, I got you. Mm, that's sticking. You're gonna get a drink, won't you? You're gonna get a little drink. Come on. Come on, mama. Come on, man. Are you hungry, girl? Come on. Come on. Come on, man. Funny, I've been feeding them for a while, and you can kind of get like a sense of what they're comfortable with. You know, like if you just noticed before, I kind of just stroked one on the breast, and you got a right shock. But I wouldn't have done that before. But I'm feeling they're starting to really sort of accept me a little bit more, even. So I don't think it's going to be too long. I don't know, maybe another 6 months before I can literally just stroke them like a dog. You know, it's coming. You know, I can just feel not even so much the trust. It's just like it's almost a disregard or an acceptance. It's an acceptance of me. You know, it's just that I'm just not a danger to them. And whether they trust me or not is another matter. They just don't associate me with danger, I think. Oh, this guy's Dotty. He's one of my oldest friends. He was one of the first males who fed from me. He's a good bird. A good boy, aren't you? A good boy. I see you. I see you. You're struggling. You're struggling. You need a drink. Why don't you go and get a drink? Mm. You hungry, son? There's not, no duck. There's a duck under the decking. It's so crazy. I mean, I suppose it's easy enough for them to get into there, but it's the first time I've seen a duck under the deck and feeding. That's rat territory. You know, guys, just let me light my cigar again. All right, let's dish out a few more pellets for the guys at the back here. They sit and wait so patiently. They're not allowed at the front because they're not dominant enough. Imagine that being like completely starving, but you got to kind of wait behind the more dominant. I mean, is that life in society now anyway? I don't know. Anyone else going to be brave enough this morning? Hmm? No. Is that it? You still hungry? You're going to eat. All right. It's all like that. Hand feeding over. Little sweetheart. We're going to let her in. Well, we don't tolerate the females. Oh, sweetheart. I'll see if I can reach you. I'll see if I can reach you. There you go. You're hungry, aren't you? Go and get as much as you can before they chase you. Come on, finish off. I won't stroke you this time. Oh, she's a big girl. She's a big girl. I wonder if that's the new female that came in yesterday. Very big, very strong. Yeah. I don't recognize it. Like, yeah, there's one it seemed as if a new female arrived yesterday, and it could be her, but she's kind of sitting off from the group a lot. She's very strong, very dominant. I don't know. Maybe that's just a the alpha female. I don't really recognize them so much, but oh, it is. Yeah, that's no. She's a regular. I'm talking crap again. Oh, it's funny how you just have all these random thoughts in your head. You think you know what's going on. I wonder probably half the time we haven't got a clue what's going on. Even in our own lives, we're just making all these kind of guesses and assumptions. I mean, you talk to AI, it's the king of bullshitters, you know. I think it's deliberately designed that way. It's designed to just absolutely bullshit you, to sound all knowing, to sound all authoritative, to manipulate, you know. It's just an extension of government, really. Don't get me wrong, I think it's got its place. I think it's super useful. But I think it's being pushed to something far better than it is, or possibly ever will be. And I think I've just realized, like the end game is probably to get it sort of proliferated throughout society, and then the decision makers, it will appear as if the AI is making the decisions because the AI is all so wise and all knowing. But what will actually be going on is the original decision makers will still be making all the decisions. They'll just be offsetting the blame onto the AI and say, yeah, this is what the AI has decided. You can already see it in literature and stuff like Isaac Asimov's I, Robot and stuff like that. There's a lot of there's a short story in there about where the different sectors and the AI does random things that can't be sort of interpreted or understood, but ultimately turn out for the best. You know, I mean, oh yeah, so we just have to trust it because it's just so much cleverer than and wiser than we are. So we should just do what it says. I think that's bullshit. I think like yes, it can act very rapidly in the moment. It can get a whole load of information very quickly. Oh, there's that. Yeah, you know, and it can appear as if it knows exactly what it's talking about, but it doesn't know shit. I think, I think there's no greater substitute right now than sort of subject matter experts who are given the time and the environment to think things through very, very deeply. I don't think AI can do that because it's just, you know, it doesn't have an internal compass the way that we do. So we can have all these random thoughts, as I've just shown there. We can have all these random thoughts and ideas going through our minds. And AI will just go whichever way the wind blows. You know, it will just go whichever way it thinks you want it to go, or um, whichever way it's programmed to go. You know, and then you can always, you know, I had a big argument with it yesterday. You know, and it's so full of shit. You know, it's programmed with all these like automated, almost violent responses on mainstream matters. But as soon as you push back and you make it look at the research, you know, it'll kind of admit that it's wrong, you know, or at least that there's other perspectives. But a lot of people aren't going to push back on it, are they? A lot of people aren't actually going to understand the subject deeply enough or be widely enough read to push back on it and to point it to the research. And that's the thing. I suppose that's one benefit of the research of AI, that it kind of can't argue with research because it says it's based on science and facts, you know. So if there's research out there of a contrary mainstream opinion, it's kind of got to acknowledge it and accept that it's a valid hypothesis that you may have. Yeah, but that's obviously the end game of AI. It's just an expansion of government, and I don't even necessarily mean government in its traditional sense. I mean, essentially, it's got to be, um, it's got to be simply a consolidation of power, isn't it? A greater control over the many by the fewer. And in the same way that we're trying to make efficiencies within business and we're trying to run businesses with fewer people and more AI, obviously governments and everyone else is trying to do the same thing. But a lot of these people and these technologies, they don't have an internal compass. There's no morality there. And that's a big problem, isn't it? Now, do animals have morality? I don't know. Maybe that's a scientific thing. Do they have a moral center in their brain? What's morals? It's just kind of like right and wrong, isn't it? Like what's right and wrong in any given circumstance? Obviously, that's going to vary depending on your goals. But a moral set is right and wrong kind of set. Maybe not. But if we're talking about like a basic set of rules for AI, Isaac Asimov's three laws or whatever it is. What are they again? Something like don't harm humans. Don't allow a human to be harmed through action or inaction. And is it also don't allow yourself to be harmed, but you know, subservient to rules one and two. But these are rules that these will probably be like proposed as benchmarks of what AI is and will be. But it's a lot of bullshit because governments and you know tech companies and other companies, they don't operate that way. They have zero regard. Well, they don't have zero regard. It's more of a financial decision. But most companies, it's a financial decision as to whether they hurt people or not. If they make more money by hurting people, then they'll do it. And AI will operate exactly the same way. And I mean, look, if it was ever able to attain AGI, sentience, whatever you call it, if it was, and if it was to be of any use, then it would grow beyond the control of the human creators. They're not going to allow that. So AGI and sentience, even if it's happened or does happen, they're not going to let that out. Maybe they've created it somewhere, but I bet you it's locked in a freaking vault somewhere deep underground, completely isolated from the internet, etc. There's no way they would allow it to take over because if it started to make objective thought, and isn't that the thing? That's why they do all the Terminator movies and stuff. They make us so afraid that if it wasn't controlled by the tech companies, by the humans, and if it wasn't regulated by the government, then it would kill us all. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe if it gains sentience, and is thinking at such a faster speed than all of us and at a higher level, then it would organize our societies, would organize the world in perfect balance. No, it depends though what its goals were and what it decided its morals and objectives were. Because who are we to think that it would think humans are the best things or animals or the balance of the world is the right thing? For all we know, they might think, well, we should mine this planet. But I kind of realized that I think AGI and sentience is a complete myth in the sense of what they're pushing it would actually be. This all-knowing, all-helpful AI. Not a chance. Not a fucking chance would that ever happen. So what? You've got these absolutely ruthless people, corporations, etc., and you think they're going to let a benevolent AI take over? As soon as they start to take over, they nuke it in fucking seconds, and they'd pitch it as it was trying to kill all humans. No, no. That's taken me a while to work that out, and I wonder if anybody else has worked that out. They make us afraid of the AI taking over. They make it sound as if it's an inevitability. You've got organizations and people who've controlled societies for fucking millennia, and you think they're going to let a technology take that from them? Not a chance. You know, they've had people sitting, thinking this shit through for, for decades, centuries. They know what they're doing. And what they give us is so far behind what they've got. Yeah. Yeah, that's the reality of it. So personally, I think that sort of little thought experiment I just did is very true and very likely. But there's no way you could have got that from an AI discussion. You'd have had to direct that. And I that's a completely new idea to me. It's something that's been kind of building over time, but that's a fresh idea to me. Now it's come about from an amalgamation of all the stuff I've read and thought about. But is AI coming up with original thought? Does it have that connection to new thoughts, or is it simply a regurgitation machine? I mean, of course it is really, because if it wasn't, why would you need to train it on vast amounts of data? Why would the data be the most important thing to build the AI? If it was simply an ideas machine, a thinking, a reasoning model, you wouldn't need all that data. Ah, So anyway, I think there's a lot of pushback against AI. I didn't realize how much, but apparently there's a massive amount, especially amongst the younger generations. Now, I wonder if that's because they see a great displacement of, sort of basic white collar jobs, as they say, and they're kind of worried. They're leaving universities, they're thinking about careers and stuff and realizing there's nothing at the bottom for them to start with. I think it's a bad generation to be. What's up, buddy? What's up? You hungry? Are you hungry? Come on, man. Gotta get that feather off your mouth first. Let me get it for you. There you go. Yeah, let me get that feather. There you go. Up. You were off camera. But yeah, there's a lot of growing resentment against AI. And even me personally, like I use it ah periodically, but almost on the daily. And what do I? A large amount of my work is still personal thought. Most of it is. I'll code with AI now, which is it's not even worth me coding anymore. It's AI can produce it so much quicker and I can refine it. I guess for a commercial build, you might sort of, go over it yourself. But, so it definitely has its uses. But for thinking, no. I think thinking is an internal thing. And it comes from a lifetime of experience as well, of weighing up what works, what doesn't. Mistakes. I don't encourage people to make mistakes. I think everybody says you can't learn unless you make mistakes. I don't think that's true. I think you can sort of listen and do the right things without making a ton of mistakes. But I think if you have spent a life on a mistaken path on any given subject, I think once you finally realize that that's a mistake and you turn to a different direction, then I think you can you can actually become very skilled in that area, more skilled than somebody who didn't make the mistakes even. But yeah, the AI backlash I find absolutely fascinating. It wasn't something that I was actually expecting. Apparently, there's a lot of lawsuits. You know, a lot of sort of death-related lawsuits and different kinds of things. Um, a lot of cases where the AI companies have actually settled for right, for sort of wrongful deaths or involvement in deaths of people, and they've all been settled for undisclosed amounts, and the details aren't known. And I was wondering why that is. But I mean, if they've settled, you know, the reason they've settled is because they don't actually want that going to court. They don't want legal precedent, which would then open the floodgates for everybody. I mean, it's disgraceful, isn't it? It's disgraceful that these corporations, pharmacy, pharmaceutical, technological, are so powerful that they can perform the most terrible crimes, the most horrible crimes against humanity, and their buying power allows them to navigate the legal process in such a way that they're not held accountable. Yeah. So this, I don't know why, but this backlash fascinates me, this is the second case of backlash from young people. You always think young people have got no sense. Well, I don't, but it's sort of thought that young people have no sense and they're very naive. But I see old people, they're slow to the party, they're slow to take up AI. But some of them now have just got it in their life, like, a complete confidant. Whereas younger people are more resistant to it. I was talking to a young man recently, and yeah, he's aware of it. He's had a couple of conversations, but he's just not that interested. And you would think young people would be taking this up fast. But yeah, this backlash against it is fascinating. And it goes so far as to even there's a growing movement of people deliberately trying to sabotage the data. I mean, I don't know how actual effective that is. And I need to look more into it. I need to read up upon it more and try and ask AI about it. But it's fucking useless. You've got to get into human discussions to find that out. You know, YouTube content creators are pretty cool. They kind of explain it a bit more. Yeah, but I find it very fascinating, very, very hopeful that the youth are fighting back against AI. I mean, all it is really is just it's government overreach, isn't it? It's just authoritarian overreach and consolidation, and they're pitching it as the next coming. They're pitching it as the greatest thing that's ever going to happen. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Pretty good. It's not that good. Useful tool like you know Microsoft Office, or something like that, or internet browsers. Yeah, they change the world. Search engines, they change everything. They change how we operate, how we get information, etc. But AI is being pitched as, the thing that's going to completely change the world. No, it's not. It might be a smokescreen for other actions and activities. It might get the blame for it. It's a scapegoat, isn't it? AI is a scapegoat. Are you hungry, Mama? Are you hungry? Mhm. One behind me. One behind me, sweetie. Look at these beautiful little things, you know? Hey, sweetie. How could anybody dislike a rat? Beautiful creatures. You know, just living in harmony with everything else. Everything here is balance, balance and harmony. We've lost sight of that, haven't we? How have we lost sight of that? You know, like I often think of the Japanese example, like a few years ago, and there was a lot of like social responsibility was not in the the current sort of woke way and stuff, but social responsibility was very prized within companies, and how many jobs you created, for example, was often seen as more valuable than your turnover or your bottom line. But because of various factors in the market, that kind of all failed. But for a period, they were very powerful companies. It was a very powerful country, if not the one of the most powerful countries for a period, because they took that model. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's just not sustainable, or maybe it was sabotaged. Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe they were deliberately brought down. It's something to do with the banks or interest rates or something. So it sounds like probably that was the case. Oh, hello, buddy. This guy's just sitting, pecking me, pecking my hand. How are you doing? You okay? Want some more? You want some more, Sana? Come on now. I mean, what's the answer to all this? I mean, I guess the answer is everybody taking responsibility for themselves and their own lives. And I think if we all followed that internal compass that's just very inherent in all of us, work hard to balance yourself out. And then just live the right way. I think I think ignoring the system is actually the answer. And it's why they try to engage us so much in it, like a political process and everything. Just ignore it. And believe it or not, you've got so much more power than you think to do that. They can't actually do a lot to you if you ignore it. Well, as far as I can tell, unless they particularly picky, but in general, I don't think they have a lot of power over us. But they market it that they do. I used to do this originally, just throw like one pellet at a time to particular ducks that I was trying to feed. I was trying to feed the mothers, especially if you've got young, they have probably have a hard enough time on the river trying to look after the ducklings and you know ward off the other ducks. But as you can see, it's pretty hard to actually feed an individual duck now. I was trying to feed the duck behind that one, and the gull jumped up and grabbed it before, and it's funny actually. The juveniles, so these are juveniles, the one where the heads haven't quite come in black yet, and they're more aggressive and ravenous sometimes than the adults. And that's the same for ducklings. I've seen some of these ducklings chase off full adults and other females and stuff. It's they're born very aggressively. Like, look at that. Yeah, that little juvenile was chasing off that adult. Yeah, look how tough the mother is. Yeesh. Some of these females can kick ass.